Hello everyone, I'm happy to welcome you to the online webinar about OCP Future Technologies Symposium that will be held in San Jose, California on March 3rd, 2020. This webinar is a kickoff webinar and gives you an overview of the event, its history, its mission, the structure, and also about the paper submission process. Please remember that during this webinar, you will be able to write down your questions on the chat section, and they will be addressing your questions in the end of this webinar. Today, I'm happy to present you the host of this webinar. And the host of this webinar are the leaders for the OCP Symposium 2020. Alan, who is our chair, and myself, who is the program chair for this event. Alan, can you please present yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone. Alan Smith here. I'm the OCP Symposium Chair. I've signed on for a 2-year commitment to that position. In that role, I'll be developing the strategy, interfacing for how to use Symposium, interfacing that with the broader OCP team and the board, and then also doing a lot of industry outreach while operationally supporting Lesia in getting the Symposium events successful. At my day job, I'm the lab manager for Area 404 at Facebook. Area 404 is a team that does hardware research and development at Facebook.
Thank you, Alan. So my name is Lesia Dimita, and I'm a strategic innovation engineer at a French company, OCP. For this event, I'm taking the role of a program chair, and my mission is to provide a successful event execution, communicate with academic institutions, with startups, and also leading program committee. I have an academic background and a doctoral degree from the University of Strasbourg, and I also did a visiting postdoctoral at the ETH Zurich. Before joining OCP, I worked for European NGOs and a couple of private companies. And I'm very happy to join in this community and help Alan and the whole community to make a successful event next year in March.
So just to kick off, what is OCP Symposium? So we're part of OCP. It's an initiative that we really wanted to bring together academia and startups to point towards the future problems. We're like kind of 3 to 5 year horizon to be able to funnel in research and technologies to address the opportunities and risks of the OCP membership community.
So in this webinar, you will be able to hear different topics. So we basically will start about giving you a brief overview of what is Open Compute Project. Then we will move to the symposium and telling you a little bit about the history of symposium, about the mission and KPIs that Alan and I have developed. We will also give you some insights why it's important that you participate, and also we will introduce you the structure and give you the overview of our program committee members for this event. We will end up with walking you through the process of submission via the Linklings page and introduce you the long-term framework that we developed for this event. Now let me just give you some words about what is Open Compute Project. So Open Compute Project is a global community that reinvents hardware, shares design of data center solution and best practices among companies and also among engineers. This community includes different companies such as Facebook, IBM, Intel, Nokia, Google, Microsoft, Rackspace, Goldman Sachs, Alibaba, and many more. So Open Compute Project Foundation has been initiated in 2011 by Facebook and other companies with a mission to apply the benefits of open source and open collaboration to hardware and rapidly increasing the pace of innovation near and around the data centers, different types of solutions. The OCP collaboration model is being applied beyond the data center and now helps to advance in telecom industry and edge infrastructure. Today, Open Compute Project Foundation counts more than 200 companies of different size and located all around the globe. But we also have more than 6,000 engineers who work together on solving different problems. They are engaged in different OCP groups where they co-develop, they work together on solving the future problems and developing the future products and future specifications.
So a little bit of the history, how we got here. Back in January of 2019, so earlier this year, I approached some OCP members, and it was from my previous experience in the IT industry, and then I worked in the aerospace industry before IT. All the conferences I had been to at this scale and kind of this focus around an industry had an academic element to it, and they were generally more research oriented. So I approached the OCP community and said, well, why don't we have anything like that? And they said, great, go do that. So we scrambled, that was in January of 2019, we scrambled to pull together an event for a global symposium in March of 2019. This is a ride-along event with the OCP Summit. What we did was, the scale that we reached was 17 submissions. We did a poster session during the summit event. Well, OCP has been expanding into the European region, so in September we also did a ride-along event, a symposium event, in accordance with the regional summit, and we had 21 submissions, and we scaled up from a poster session to also a briefing session. And then Leslie is going to talk a little bit about this in the future, but we are targeting a day 0 event, and now we have an award for best paper, so we're continuing to scale this thing, and you'll see in a moment kind of some of the incentives we're trying to put in front of the community on both sides of this to help us really build this into something effective for the OCP community. Who do we want participating in OCP? So, you know, it starts with the academia and startups, so the folks who are going to be providing that innovative research for us here, the ventures, the market and analysts who can help us suss out what the industry needs and the trends of the industry and consolidation and those things. And then we are really pushing on industry and OCP members to participate with us in Symposium to help shape it into something that'll be valuable. The mission of Symposium is really folded into 3 things: innovation, technology, and people. So we want this to be a forward-looking funnel. We want to be focused for Symposium around things that are feasible in the next 3 to 5 years. We want these things to be viable for the scale that the membership of OCP operates at. So things that can help OCP membership continue to grow and technologies that can ultimately be adopted into OCP. And people, so we want to bring in the best talent, whether that's that we're using some of this to expose the academia and startups to the particular companies and problem sets in OCP, or whether we're just getting the best minds kind of pointed at these problems. And lastly, in the next 2 years, this is kind of key of what we want to, where we want to be. We want to be at a place of adoption. Adoption can either be OCP members taking technologies and putting them into their data center operations from Symposium, or investing in research they found in the Symposium membership. So on the innovation adoption curve, we're really focused on the left side of this, folks who understand what their problem sets are and who want the world's best minds poking at those problems and helping them solve them. So why we want to participate, there's really 2 aspects to this. There's both the academia and startups, so the participant side, and then the engagement side from industry and academia, or industry OCP membership. So to start with the folks who are going to be providing some of the ideas. If you're from academia and startup, we can offer a few things here. One is OCP has been tremendously successful, like Leslie said earlier, at pulling this community together in an open source ethos. So they're already sharing as much information as we can, and we're continually pushing from the OCP side to say, here is the industry, let's all collaborate. So we already have an audience for your ideas. We already have an established community to present your ideas to, and these are everything from the business side who control the dollars and the strategy to the technology side. And we're engaging both sides to be participating in this symposium. keep in mind that we're headed towards adoption. So this is an opportunity for your ideas to hit an operational data center and possibly for your research to be funded. So the ask we have on this side of it to come and participate with us, help us build this into something that's valuable for OCP. On the engagement side, if you're coming from industry, if you're coming from OCP, the one thing we're trying to solve is I really tend to view research and development, whether it was at aerospace or now what I've witnessed in IT, to be point to point. So, hey, I'm in the hardware development group. I happen to come from this program in Missouri that did these optics, so therefore I'm going to reach into them for some optics research. Or I happen to go to OFC around optical communications, like a conference around optical communications. I happen to be exposed to Professor X over at MIT, or Professor Y at Stanford, or Professor Z at Santa Barbara, who happens to be doing this type of optical research. Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to curate that community for you, so you don't have to be as point to point and say, here's what I know and how I can reach into this research. You can say, here's my topic. You can align, because OCP already does this and says, here's the hard problems about onboard optics, for example. And then we are trying to bring you the best minds of the community all pointed in that direction, rather than you going and finding them. So the ask we have for this part of the community, for industry, come engage with us. Please come participate on day 0. We have a few opportunities that we're pursuing, like an industry roundtable, but we are really asking for your input to say, what would you like Symposium to be? How can we be most effective in the most rapid amount of time?
Thank you, Alan. I think this is a great reason why companies, why universities and people from startups should participate. And before I will introduce the new structure for this OCP next year, let me just briefly remind to our attendees that we're expecting to get their questions. And today they have an exciting opportunity to ask questions to you, Alan, to myself, and to Michael, who will be joining us a little bit later at the webinar. Please put your questions on the chat box. We will be addressing them. We will be answering them later today. So now let me tell you a few words about new structure of the OCP Symposium. So it's going to be a dedicated day event, day 0 event on Tuesday, March 3rd in 2020. So on this day, we'll have briefings, we'll have presentations, we'll have discussions. It's going to be very exciting and a day with a lot of discussions. Then we'll have a poster session during the Global Summit on March 4th and 5th next year. As Alan mentioned, we are going to have a roundtable where people from industry and academia will be invited, and they will be having the conversation on a day 0 in order to get the inputs on the future of Symposium. We really want to engage in conversations with people from the industry, academia, and startup, know what are their needs and how can we address, how can we build this community together, and how can we leverage all of these discussions and interactions. Now let me briefly introduce you and tell you a little bit more about program committees members. So here I would like to present you a few people who has been invited as a program committee members, but of course we also have other experts as a program committee members. So one of the committee members is Michael Borth. Michael is holds a PhD from Stanford, and he was an executive in the telecommunication industry. He also participated in a number of research projects for Facebook and governmental organizations such as NASA. Another committee member is Minji Chen, who is a professor in Princeton, and he is doing research in the Princeton Power Lab laboratory, where he develops novel power electronic solutions with his team. We also have Manoj Vadekar, who is our storage architect from Facebook. He previously worked as a director of hardware engineering at eBay. Then we also have Cliff Grosner. He is executive director from the Cloud and Data Center Research Practice and coming from IHS Markit. He has more than 25 years of telecommunication industry experience, and he has an extensive involvement in scientific research, market analysis, corporate strategy, product development, and management. So as you see, these are just some of the people that has been invited, but as I said, we also have other members who are serving as a program committee. This is a great space to collaborate with experts from academia and from industry. So come and engage in discussion, ask your questions, and that would be a really great opportunity for everyone to benefit from this network.
So we're going to walk through the next part of this on just a very quick walkthrough, some familiarity with the tool that we use to take our submissions in. So we're using a tool called Linklings, just to walk you through a user experience. When you go to the link provided in this talk or from some of our communications, you'll be asked to create an account. So you'll create an account here. Once you sign in, you are going to be taken to the submissions page. So there are 3 options to kind of submit. I think the link takes you straight to the Future Technologies Symposium. We just shorten that to Symposium typically. You'll be asked to agree to some terms, and then this is really how you start to engage with the tool. You'll enter the title of your abstract. So you can just copy and paste that word for word. You can enter your author, and you have the option to add multiple authors. One thing to note about the author information section is you will be asked to select, to make a commitment of whether the author you're entering is going to participate in the submission. You can come and modify this later, but you will be asked to do that before you can move on for each author. You'll be asked to copy and paste the text of your abstract into this box, and then load your file under this menu. We're giving you a countdown of when the submissions are due, so Leslie is going to talk more about that, and then you hit submit. You can also come back to the top of this in the navigation, and you can go through my submissions, and you can see what the status is. If your group wants to make multiple submissions, which we are anticipating this time, you can be tracking multiple papers in here. So that's the general overview of the tool. We're always available, Leslie and I, if you run into any issues with presenting and getting your abstracts loaded. The workflow then is if your paper is accepted, then you will hear from us, and we will ask you to at minimum develop a poster. That's the requirement. But then you also have the opportunity, so it's more of an option to participate and develop a briefing. Both of those submissions are also done. We'll provide you the templates, and we will take submissions through this website, through Linklings. So everything is basically done from this point through Linklings. Okay.
Thank you, Alan. Now I would like to tell you a little bit more about our long-term framework. So we want to make it much more than just another event. We want to build a sort of community engagement and different activities that people can work together, including research, including events, and including online and offline meetups. So our first goal would be to deepen partnership between industry, academia, and startups. Because as more academic institutions get involved into the OCP community, we need to start influence. We need to develop different types of collaborations, including such as research and recruitment and training as well. The second would be to accelerate productization through open source R&D. Because we believe that cross-cutting partnership between academia and industry can tackle and solve the future problems and develop new technologies that can be used in the OCP community. And the symposium and this community can be a way to leverage the knowledge, build joint R&D collaborations, get funding, and share knowledge in partnerships. We want to also have the community and organize online and real-world meetups and workshops, engineering workshops, where people can benefit from this collaboration and also develop their own projects, develop their own new technologies and solutions. I would like also to remind that the deadlines for submission via the Linklings is Friday, January 10th of 2020 at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Please make sure that you make your submission before the deadline. And don't forget that the winning submission will get the prize. 10,000 euros will be awarded to the winner. And Alan and I will be soon sharing the criteria for the winning submission. But we should say that the prize will go to the work that is innovative, that technically feasible, and which can be applied in the OCP community. Last but not least, I would like to give you some advices. Please reach out to us, write emails to Alan or myself, engage in conversations. We'll be happy to answer your question. We'll be happy to help and to explain you a little bit more about the symposium, about the advantages of that. Submit your paper before the deadline, January 10th. Make the presentation if you are selected. And also participate in the OCP Future Technologies Symposium 2020. Come and join us in San Jose. Also remember that submitters and speakers, especially those who are selected as finalists, will gain a free attendance to the OCP Symposium and to the OCP Global Summit. So if you are selected, if you will be presenting your work, you'll get the free pass to both events, OCP Symposium and OCP Global Summit. Once again, come and join us in 2020 at the OCP Future Technologies Symposium on March 3rd, a dedicated event to celebrate innovation and future technologies, and then we'll continue at the OCP Global Summit on March 4th and 5th. Both events will take place in San Jose in California. Now we are ready to move to the Q&A session. I would like to introduce Michael. Michael, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Leja. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Michael Schill. I work for OCP as a community specialist. Leja, in regards to the Q&A session, unfortunately, I think you and Alan have done such a wonderful job that we haven't had a single question come through yet. So anyone, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask, please type that into the question or chat box right now. If not, as Leja mentioned earlier, you can refer all your questions to her or Alan via email. Let's pause just for a moment to see if anyone is brave enough to ask a question.
Before we're expecting the question, I have maybe one question to Alan. If you can give me some insights from your experience for the past global and regional OCP symposium that we had last year. What was your impressions?
For the two events, again, we kind of scrambled to pull together the first global symposium in March. Was really pleased with the engagement and the enthusiasm that the community, the academic and startup communities met us with. We actually pulled one or two of the program committee members because they just dove right in with both feet with us and really had a bunch of ideas about what this could potentially be. Those seeds that we planted back in March are really why we've gotten to where we've at from a vision perspective today. And I think the broader interesting trend here is where OCP is at in relation to its community. You just have some very interesting challenges facing the global IT market. Things like if we've heard about the death of Moore's Law or the end of Moore's Law, that everyone in the IT industry has a cold storage problem, whether they recognize it or not. That data is just going to become more intensive. That power is going to become more of a limited commodity because these systems take more and more power. That trend is really exciting to meet this with the opportunities of curating this community of symposium to say, well, here's our ideas of how to solve some of these things. So the trend from global symposium and the excitement and the interest we were able to get in a couple short months really expand that over into Europe and say, okay, the goal in Europe was 51%, and more than 50% of the topics in the papers would be specific to that region. And then to spin up also a briefing segment of that, not just do a poster session. So we've been making these rapid leaps. I think we've proven ourselves to the OCP community at this point, which is why I think we have so much support from the OCP board and the OCP core team, including Rocky and Dirk and Bill and Archana and Kaylee. Everyone's been really pushing as hard as they can behind our backs to make this a successful thing. And I really get the sense that they all believe in what we're trying to do here and that it's going to benefit the community. So I'm very, very excited about where you're going to take the next global symposium. I'm very excited. The next regional symposium in September of 2020 will be in Prague, which I hear is a beautiful city. I'm excited to visiting. But I'm much more excited about gathering this community together and just unbending the future of just some very interesting challenges facing OCP.
Yes, that sounds a really exciting opportunity. Same for me. I'm very curious to see what would be the impact. I'm very happy to be part of this incredible event, and I'm happy to answer the questions that will be coming from people. And if we can address them, if we can solve the future problems, that would be really great, because it can really give the impact to the companies, to the communities, and moreover to the in a global way. So that's really exciting. Unless if we have a question.
Had questions come through from Clifford Grossner. What were the top 3 learnings from the last symposium?
The top 3 learnings were we were really, the number one that was the most glaring is we needed a stronger tie, information, a channel to orient the research of Symposium to the problems and the technologies and the stacks that the OCP members were facing. Essentially, there were really novel ideas that could potentially go in tie. They just thought that going forward, the feedback we got was how to link up and say, here's the much stronger tie to the exact use cases and problem sets facing the industry. Therefore, we can orient the research toward it, which obviously has informed our future here. The other feedback has been we've already been able to assemble a pretty world-class cobble of talent. So we've had Stanford, MIT, UCSB, UC Santa Cruz. We've had leaders in the industry and startup presenting already. So it was much more about just kind of creating an efficient connection between them. The third is we really needed to scale as a symposium organization. So when I brought up the idea to them and they approved it in January 2019, we were really trying to operate more of an academic conference model where there's one chair that kind of sets the strategy, that does the outreach, that kind of has enough strong connections with academia where they're able to really get network effects from their network and really create like a broad community around that. What we have changed since then, and this was a finding in regional, was we didn't reach enough of the community with one outreach person. So now we've moved to this program committee where we have leaders for kind of technology areas. So Minji is going to lead from Princeton, he's going to lead the infrastructural technology stack, things like power and rack and data center operations and some software management in there. Then we have a network stack lead of Michael Bortz, because he came from that community and has done a lot of research there. We have opportunities to even dive down into the NIC, into optics there, but having someone like that just doing very focused outreach to that entire stack rather than trying to reach everybody across compute, AI, infrastructural technologies, power, network, storage, was the next phase of scaling. So that's definitely something we learned there too. Thanks for your question, Cliff.
Great. Next question is from Mr. Alan Cantle of Molex. Alan wants to know, is there an IP policy that's published for academics or businesses that bring protected IP to this community?
So we'll probably need to get back to you on that. What I remember is that we loaded up underneath the OCP IP agreements. So let us publish that so we just make sure that we accurately cite what the exact policy is, but I believe that there is something in place. We will get back to you on that, Al.
Michael, maybe you can give more information about the IP, but on the case of OCP Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So strictly speaking, from the OCP Foundation side, OCP does not own any IP that is contributed or brought forth and presented. From the contribution side, and again, this differs slightly from the symposium, when contributions are made, the contributor does not give up the rights to their IP. They still remain the owner of any protected IP that they own. Instead, what we have the contributors do is sign a CLA, a contribution license agreement, which is essentially a patent non-assert agreement. Say, happy to go into any further, detail, Alan, if we want to connect offline.
Yep.
Happy to reach you and discuss that.
Yeah, I think we should just publish to whoever's going to subscribe to this that they can go and reference the link or the policy or wherever we're at. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Next question from Rajesh Gopinath. Can the submissions address proprietary technologies that have otherwise not been discussed in OCP forums previously? For context, I represent a company that provides reliable, clean energy to data centers with an innovative power generation technology.
Yeah, my answer to that is yes. Yes, and if we run into any issues when we go through the submission process, if you want to reach out to me, Rajesh, if there are any concerns that we can address specifically, we're happy to, but my top line answer is yes, I think it should be fine.
And last question from John Laban of OCP.
Hey, John.
John wants to know, could this include machine learning? The example that he provides is like what EdgeTech has done on OCP servers in Boden, Sweden, to reduce energy consumption by shifting workloads.
Yeah, John, the answer is yes. So I want to go back to how we're organized. So we are currently working with kind of finalizing an agreement with the program committee lead for compute/AI. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And then network technologies, storage media technologies, and then infrastructural technologies. For me, machine learning is one of the largest opportunities facing the IT industry. I do think there's a breakthrough coming. I don't want to point to any specific technology, but that's going to be such a big part, whether it's how we manage operations and allocate traffic, whether it's how we spin up our cooling systems and our power management systems, or whether it's actually on the application side and how to design or co-design hardware to the actual workloads that the companies are running. Obviously, Facebook is a company that relies tremendously on automation, so we have a vested interest there too, and I assume others do as well.
Thanks, Alan. That was the last question, guys. Thanks so much.
Excellent.
Thank you, Michael. So I think we can wrap up this session. And on the last slide, you will find our emails and contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Alan or write email to me. We'll be happy to answer your questions and give you help on the process of a submission or attendance and etc. Thank you for attendance, and we will follow up with you, sending you the record video of this webinar. Thank you.